Have you ever wondered how this 79 to 88 millimeter king-size filtered cigarette was relling the world?
Your mouth feels clean. Your throat refreshed.
In the 19th century, women smokers were viewed as fallen women, with smoking the occupational symbol of prostitution.
I have a pack. Well, I didn't know you'd switch.
But in present day, when someone smokes regularly, then that person must have the means to afford this symbol of success.
While you smoke.
If you want to get away from strong, harsh-tasting cigarettes, now's the time to
People will notice what you're smoking.
But then 1964 came, and how one report...
It is a judgment of the committee that cigarette smoking contributes substantially to mortality from certain specific diseases and...
Report literally send shockwaves to foundation of tobacco industry. It is therefore remarkable that within 50 years of the invention of the mass-produced cigarette, smoking in North America and Northern Europe has become socially acceptable and even socially desirable. This was due not only to the dramatic changes in the social and economic status of women and men over this period, but also to the way in which the tobacco industry capitalized on changing social attitudes towards women by promoting smoking as a symbol of emancipation, a torch of freedom. This message is still being promoted today by the tobacco industry around the world. Cigarettes eventually represents a male power.
Find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette.
With the entrance of the United States into World War I in 1917, cigarette use increased dramatically among United States military personnel, as they were targeted by tobacco companies, which touted cigarettes as a way for soldiers to psychologically escape from their current circumstances, boosting overall troop morale. Tobacco was viewed as indispensable to the war effort. General Pershing said, "You ask me what we need to win this war. I answer tobacco as much as bullets." Tobacco is as indispensable as the daily ration. We must have thousands of tons without delay. Cigarettes were a staple of soldiers' rations during WW II. They were included in combat rations and provided to soldiers as part of their daily supplies. Cigarettes were often used as currency among soldiers, and they were considered essential for boosting morale and reducing stress. In the high-stress environment of combat, smoking was a common way for soldiers to cope with the stresses of warfare and long periods of waiting in combat zones. Many soldiers who had never smoked before the war started smoking during their service, contributing to an increase in tobacco use among the general population. This boosted the sales for tobacco industry. Due to wartime restrictions on resources and transportation, the production and distribution of tobacco products faced some challenges. To be fair, there were many different cigarette brands supplied to American GIs fighting in WW II.
This week's gift camels go to Veterans Hospitals, Boise, Idaho.
But none were as iconic at the time as Lucky Strikes.
Lucky Strike, first again with Tobacco Men.
From the logo to the smooth taste, these smokes helped troops in WW II enjoy some relief from war and calm their nerves, just as the troops who fought before them in WW I. A standard C ration would contain food items such as hardtack biscuits, corned beef, and bacon. Salt and pepper were the only seasonings included. Ground coffee and tobacco were in the rations, too. The tobacco products could vary. Some would have cigarettes from brands such as Camel. Others had tobacco with rolling papers. But again, there was nothing quite like Lucky Strike cigarettes to enjoy downtime with during the war.
Lucky Strike, first again with Tobacco Men. First again with Tobacco Men.
But the Lucky cigarette may have very well been started during World War II. Smoking your Lucky cigarette without clearing the rest of the pack was not only frowned upon but believed to bring you bad luck in smoking and on the battlefield. Considering Lucky Strike was a prominent brand during the time, it's not crazy to see where this name and trend came from. According to the National Survey on Drug Use and Health's 2010-2015 analysis, around 30% of the active duty service members use tobacco. Such high levels of smoking have led to significant costs to the Department of Defense. The costs of smoking among U.S. military healthcare system beneficiaries have been estimated to be more than $900 million per year in 1995, with $584 million in direct healthcare costs and $346 million in lost productivity among active duty personnel. Suicide, which accounts for 13% of fatalities in the military, has also been tied to smoking, as the risk of suicide among military men was found to increase significantly with the number of cigarettes smoked daily. Smoking may be a reaction to an indicator of increased stress, and a person who is potentially suicidal would obviously be under a more than typical degree of stress, so increased smoking may be an indicator of that excessive stress rather than a cause for increased risk of suicide. Also, a higher rate of smoking among those discharged during training may also be indicative of individuals for whom training is more than normally stressful, and such persons would likely experience more difficulty in successfully completing training than one who is not unusually compared to his or her peers stressed by it.
Targeting women is new strategy to boost the sales. In the early part of the 20th century, the anti-tobacco movement was aimed primarily at women and children. Smoking was considered a dirty habit, and smoking by women was seriously frowned upon by society. The suffrage movement gave many women a sense of entitlement and freedom, and the tobacco industry took advantage of the marketing opportunity. Torches of freedom was a phrase used to encourage women smoking by exploiting women's aspirations for a better life during the early 20th century first-wave feminism in the United States. The term was first used by Edward Bernays to encourage women to smoke in public despite social taboos. Edward Bernays was best known for his campaigns, including an effort in 1929 to promote female smoking by branding cigarettes as feminist torches of freedom. He outlined how skilled practitioners could use crowd psychology and psychoanalysis to control them in desired ways. Tobacco companies began marketing cigarettes to appeal to women during the burgeoning women's movement of the 1920s. The American Tobacco Company began targeting women with its ads for Lucky Strikes. They employed ads featuring prominent women, such as Amelia Earhart, and promised slimming effects. Most of the ads also conveyed a carefree and confident image of women that would appeal to the modern woman of the 1920s. The ads grew more extravagant with paid celebrity testimonials and far-reaching claims of how Lucky Strikes could improve their lives. Their most aggressive campaign directly challenged the candy industry by urging women to reach for a Lucky instead of a sweet. These aggressive campaigns paid off, making Lucky Strike the most smoked brand within a decade. There is little evidence that tobacco companies directly targeted women to any significant extent at this time or attempted to challenge the dominant social stigma attached to female smoking. The First World War proved to be a watershed in both the emancipation of women and the spread of smoking among women. During the war, many women had not only taken on male occupations, but had also started to wear trousers, play sports, cut their hair, and smoke.
Forces.
Russia's #1 Minute Woman. She killed 309 Nazis. She's Lieutenant Pavlichenko, greeted by Ambassador Litvinov in Washington.
Mr. Hill believed one of the quickest ways to interest women in his product was to zero in on women's waistlines. The timing could not have been better, as slimness was coming into fashion along with bobbed hair and short skirts. The president of American Tobacco saw the potential of selling cigarettes to women as a fat-free way to satisfy hunger. Message was highly effective and increased Lucky Strike's market share by more than 200%. With the help of the father of public relations, Edward Bernays, American Tobacco made Lucky Strike the best-selling brand for 2 years.
We already knew how distressing tobacco is for humans. But can we dig further? Your lighten up use cigarette moving up to mouth. A black-looking material called tar begins to coat tooth and all areas linked. You start smoking further. Your tooth enamel was damaging. It starts damaging nerve endings, causing loss of smell slowly. It was in the process to drain your lungs and begin developing diseases like bronchitis and cancer. It then fills alveoli, tiny air sacs that enables to exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, as well as damage eyesight, weak bones. A report released in 1964 says this.
Tonight's CBS Reports begins with this historic announcement by the Surgeon General of the United States on January 11, 1964.
It is a judgment of the committee that cigarette smoking contributes substantially to mortality from certain specific diseases and to the overall death rate.
So that's all about this small cigarette that kills you. It took a while to create this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching. This is CrimeCrypt, till then, signing out.